Hi, this is Don Debelak. You've reached the fourth video in our You Have a Product series. Now, this is on sales and distribution. Now, before I go further, I just want to mention that we also have a video series called Pumping Up Sales, which really talks about all the things you can do to increase sales. This particular video, as this whole video series has been, is taking a look at where you stand on each key element of your invention and your invention introduction, and taking a look at how you can make improvements before you launch into the product, into the marketplace, so you avoid spending a lot of money and not getting much in the way of results. So, what are our steps to success? One of them is, first of all, check your partnerships. Now, presentation 6 in the series is really all about partnerships and how to make a partnership and how to make that happen. Because the partners have credibility, they have market presence, they have financial results, and I really think you're always better off at first having a partnership, at least for the first year or two, to get your product out. Then you want to have a beachhead. You want to generate success. So you want to take a look at what is your strategy to kind of get a momentum up in an early market where you can actually start to build a momentum to get you going. You really want to take a relook at your product pricing. This can be a big problem in two ways. One, if your product is priced too high, it's going to discourage the market from taking it. And two, if it's priced too low and you don't have a cost or a suggested retail price or a suggested price to end users that's 4 to 5 times your manufacturing cost, you're going to find you just won't make any money. So you really need to take at your product pricing, one, to make sure your product is in the right price point, and two, to make sure you're going to make money. Often you're going to have to take corrective measures for your product pricing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. You need to gather up supporters as you move out of the beachhead. The people that you're selling to, the people that you're using in the industry, all have multiple contacts, and you've got to really learn how to use those contacts to expand your sales. Of course, you want to generate momentum so you can expand, but overexpansion can also kill you because you'll just have too many orders for your financial situation. And depending on what you've set up with your manufacturers and other people in the distribution channel, you might find that you really can't afford that and you're just going to get overextended and run out of money. You want to prepare to launch big time. Of course, you have to have a big time launch. I don't know what you've done to launch your product this time, but you need some fanfare. It's very hard to kind of slink into the marketplace slowly if you need to raise money, because your investors are going to want to see you make more progress so that they have a good chance to really make money. Having a beachhead, this is when you're getting started. You've got a certain amount of production done, you've made a certain amount of sales, but before you really go out there, it's really advantageous to get one market where you really have some success, and you want to be able to show that, to get momentum, to get people to come on board, and to get more money from investors if you need it, or more money from your manufacturer if you need it. So you want to target your beachhead. There's two things that really come into play. One is networking. Who are your contacts? And there is another video coming up in the series regarding networking, but you want to use your network to go after perfect customers. You want these to be smaller players because, after all, your beachhead has several purposes. One is, of course, to establish momentum, but two is to double check that there's nothing really you need to change about your product, or you don't have any errors in your product launch and your pricing or your marketing program. So if you're at a beachhead, you can have favorable conditions. Usually you'll have people who will work with you to make adjustments, and you can make the adjustments to perfect your product without as much risk as if you go out with a bigger launch and then find you have problems. One of the things you like about a beachhead to build your success is you can offer a lot of support. So if you have a broad market and you just have your product on shelves all across the country, you don't really know what's going on. If you have a beachhead, you can go to the stores, you can go to the different markets, you can actually go and talk to people. You can get a much better first-hand feel for how people are reacting to your product, and that's very important if you're going to want to make adjustments or see what adjustments might need to make. So beachheads are for momentum, but they're also for feedback, and it's really a key step if you want to avoid making spending really a lot of money on a big launch that when the product isn't quite right. I should say that sometimes, the difference, a 5% or 10% difference in your product is all the difference in the world. It can mean you'll sell or you won't sell. So this is not about finding out a glaring mistake. It's finding out something maybe you didn't know, something you've overlooked, and something that could be just a nagging little detail that can take you out of the process of having a winning product and make it into a losing product. So once you get your target, you have your contacts who've suggested a good spot to go after, and you are really ready to go. And I've talked about some of these issues about how to get that beachhead successful in other video series, but I just repeat them here because a lot of people come to this video series first because they have a product and they don't really look at the other video series. I really recommend you watch every video series because there's information that's different in each one, and all of it could really apply to you. But basically, when you have a beachhead, you're going to do everything you can to be successful. And so you'll do consignment, which means you'll put product in and you won't charge the retailer until he sells it. Guaranteed sales. This again is, instead of consignment, you actually bill the company for what you put in, but you guarantee to take it back if it doesn't sell. Slotting allowances is where you pay for some preferred shelf space in a store. Co-op advertising is where you pay for part of the ad and the retailer or your distribution partner pays for part of the ad. You can go with extended billing, so sometimes people do guaranteed sales. They'll also do 90-day billing, and then it's really in effect just like consignment. Make sure the product sells so there's no risk on your distribution channel partner. You might be doing in-store demonstrations, you might have events, you might be taking a lot of steps, but you want that beachhead to succeed, so you want it to be small enough where you can throw all your resources at the distribution channel to make sure that it does succeed. Product pricing, I mentioned this a little in the video, it's pricing versus cost. And so that's a matter of making sure that your end user price is 4 to 5 times your manufacturing cost. You also worry about pricing versus competition. We talked about in one of the earlier video series on market test, and I believe it's in the first series on creating your introduction plan. But take a look at pricing. What is your perceived value by end users compared to competition? You won't have head-to-head features with the different products that are in the marketplace, but that market test video series will really kind of reveal to you how to run this test to double check that your pricing is okay. You'll also have feedback, of course, from your industry insider and some of the people you take out, what they'll say about price. One of the products problems you have is that everyone pushes you to push your price down. So you really need independent market testing to kind of verify where it should be so you have some ammunition to go back with to the end users. You want the pricing to be in line with the distribution network. For instance, if you're going to be selling to convenience stores, you really only get 35% of the end price because of the distribution channel discounts. So you want to look at your manufacturing costs and what you're going to get, and you're going to have to look at what kind of discounts go through the distribution channel to make sure that your pricing is right versus your cost. Now, if your pricing isn't right, you've got to really take care of this now, because there's no point in going to the marketplace, doing all your effort, and end up not making any money. So you might want to renegotiate with your manufacturer. If you have a lot of information now to really show the manufacturer that your price is too high, you might get them to drop the price. Remember, the manufacturer has a lot to gain from your success, especially if you're about 10 to 15% of his production capacity. So sometimes if you just lay the facts out, you can get the manufacturer to work with you. You might have to drop features in order to cut your cost, or add features to increase your value, and you might need to redesign your product for a cheaper production. This last consideration, this is one of the reasons I kind of stress through the video series, seeing SCORE or getting some manufacturing help or using a freelance designers. Inventors rarely design their product for the cheapest production method. They often add features or little things and don't really realize that these really add manufacturing cost, kind of outsized for what the feature does. So don't be afraid to look at your redesign to see how can I redesign this product to get a cheaper price. Your manufacturer will also help you with this because he wants you to succeed and he has suggestions on how you can kind of reconfigure the product, do the same job, provide the same benefits, but have a lower manufacturing cost. So once you've kind of got your price right, you've had your beachhead, you've had things going right, and you want to move forward, your really first step is kind of to gather some supporters. Use the friendly retailers, the distribution channel, the people that have worked with you, use them and their contacts. What you got to realize is everyone you talk to in the industry is not a standalone person. For example, your retailer is a member of retailer associations, he goes to trade shows, he probably has retailer friends throughout the country. So if you have a friendly retailer, you want to work with that retailer to expand to all his other contacts. Basically, you're kind of an unknown commodity when you're an inventor. People don't know if they can trust you. They don't know what you can do. They don't know if you'll come through on your promises. So when you actually have a retailer, use that influence to get out and meet more people. Again, you want to get some manufacturer reps. It's the same reason. They have credibility. They have customers. If you can get a manufacturer rep to kind of come on board with you, or reps throughout the country to come on board with you and really work with you, this is going to be a big aid in establishing your credibility and getting customers all over the country. Again, you might have picked up industry supporters when you went to trade shows or trade association meetings. Use those at this time. Distribution supporters, distribution channel members who you like. Other inventors in the marketplace, these can be your very best buddies. And this is one reason I like you to go to trade shows, is that you learn at the trade shows about other inventors who've actually gone to the market and succeed. These people are very sympathetic to inventors as a rule, and they'll usually give you advice and help, and they'll give you some credibility so that you can maybe use some of their contacts. You can also, this is when we'll talk a little bit more in partnerships, if you can do a sales and distribution partnership with other inventors in the market, that can really aid all of you. And if you have people that you know that are retired in the market, these people can also be a big assistance. That's one reason I like to be at trade association meetings, because a lot of those meetings have retired people who really have time to help you and are usually pretty willing to help you. Now, as you're getting ready to go, you've got your supporters, you're going to have to go out and start meeting with people and making presentations, sometimes to investors, sometimes to your manufacturers, sometimes to other new distribution partners. So you need to really make a product presentation. Now, you can't go crazy on this presentation and make it too long. 15 minutes is probably as long as you want, but you'll find that as you're trying to gather supporters, they'll want to see a little presentation that really shows that you know what you're doing. So in your presentation, you want to start out just with your target customer profile. Be very specific. Who is this person you're really trying to sell? And you want that person to really want your product. So if you go out and say, oh, everybody will buy this product, that's not going to cut it. You really want to say, these are the people this product is specifically designed for, and these are the people who are going to want to buy the product. So when you have your target customer, then talk about their needs and desires, talk about what they're buying, how important the purchase is to them. Now, most inventors overlook this, but basically every one of us has 100 items that we could buy. You walk through a Target store or a Walmart store or really any store, you'll see you maybe only have 1 or 2% of the products that you've purchased in the past. So there's certain characteristics about you that make some purchases important and others not so important. So you've got to show this is why this group is really going to want this product. This is why they're going to be willing to purchase the product. And you're going to show that they're actually spending money for this need or desire right now. Competitive analysis, just how your product stands up to the competition. Now, when you say competitive analysis, this doesn't mean the product is just like yours. What it means is when people have this area that they want to resolve an issue or they want to have a better product. Just what are the other products people might buy. So if let's just talk about these hoverboards, which have come out and been pretty popular lately. So those hoverboards, is there competition? Other hoverboards? Oh, well, there were some, and I mean, sure, there are some hoverboards. Yes, that is competition. But what you're looking for is young people. What are they buying that's kind of fun and exciting? Well, video games in a way is competition. Skateboards is a competition. Anything that adds that thrill element to your end user is competition, and you should really talk about that. So for a hoverboard, uh, it's been extremely successful. So let's say that you're coming out now with another product that's kind of exciting for young people where they can use their athletic skills and it's kind of a cool thing. Well, then the hoverboard would be a competition for that. And that competition is not bad because what you realize is the hoverboards have shown young people want these kind of products. They're looking for them, and it's just a matter of them finding something that's really great. Now, hoverboards have run into a lot of problems because of these fires, but it doesn't detract from the fact that young people are really interested in these sort of extreme sports types of products. And if you've got one, hoverboard's a competition that really helps you and doesn't hurt you. So you want to show then how your product is best, and you want to present your market research with end users. But again, try to keep it brief, 10 minutes total, maybe 15. The longer you go, the less people are going to be interested in listening. Now, where do you get supporters? Well, first of all, the next video in the series is on networking, looking at your networking, if you've got enough people to help you. But just kind of to go over it a little bit again, um, trade shows are your best source, uh, and trade magazines. And here's just some websites you can go to find out what your trade shows are. I really recommend everyone go to trade shows, even if they're just walking the trade shows. This is how you can meet other inventor-led companies. You can meet sales reps. You can meet industry people. And for trade magazines, you can go to the local, the Gale Group, which is the Gale source of publications. You can also put that into the internet search, and you'll get the Gale directory to come up. And that directory will be full of what the trade magazines. Now you got to watch out, and you need to plan in this steps that you generate momentum without over expanding. If you overexpand, you can't deliver. You don't have enough products, or you have to cut people back on what they can get. This is a real momentum killer, and it can really kill you. So what you've got to really be conscious of is your cash flow and the capabilities of your manufacturers, how much they can produce, what their production capacity is. Now, don't be afraid to spell things out for your manufacturer. If you're looking at a customer and you have a contact that's very strong, but it's too big, go to your manufacturer, explain that before you can go talk to the customer, because your contact is going to be very unhappy if he gets you a piece of business and you can't deliver. You want to make sure that you have the internal resources for handling supporters and customers. Now, this doesn't sound like much, but actually, every new customer you have, there's going to be all types of forms to fill out, or you're going to have, a lot of hand holding through the initial process. It's not like you're on the internet and they just give you the order. So you have to be sure that you can support the customers you get, especially if you have a product. For instance, if you have a all-wheel mountain bike, for instance, um, you're going to have a lot of questions from the stores. You're going to have to provide technical support to the stores. You're going to have to support videos. Well, you better be sure that you have enough resources before you take on a bigger customer. If you take on a bigger customer and don't have those resources, you're really going to kill the sale. And this is all about once you lose that customer, it's not that easy to get them back. So what you want to do really is take a look at your momentum here, prioritize your customers by how they target your customer group and the resources required. And remember that it sounds, you say, well, that's going to, the bike shops call for too much support. I'm just going to try to sell to larger retailers or hardware stores. Well, the problem with that is that your product's going to do far better if it's got somebody there who can actually represent your product and train people on your product and show them how to use the product. So it's really not a good idea to shortchange the users who require the most support, because those users are the ones who are probably going to give you the most support to the end user. And that's what you really need to push your product out. And now this is just before you start expanding too much. Be sure you have all your ducks in a row with the manufacturer about terms, returns, and other policies. Because if you wait until actually these incidents come up and try to work it out with the manufacturer, you may find you can't resolve it. You may find that it's not going to work well with the customer, and you merely may find yourself juggling balls where there's no way to make them come together. So really make sure you got these ready before you start taking on bigger customers. Now, as I said, you're an inventor. Um, People's kind of attitude is this: if it's not a big deal to you, why should it be a big deal to me? So often, inventors are just kind of limping their way into the marketplace. They're way better. Just maybe doing that for a small beachhead, but then when they get ready to go, you better have a big time launch. Um, so the beachhead and maybe a couple early sales, that shows you know the ropes. You've got success. People will buy your product. They know your packaging is right. They know you've got your cash flow and production down. So you want to launch. Now, when you're doing a big time launch, that doesn't mean you have to be nationwide. You can still work in your state, but check with your industry and see the local events they have, the local associations, and maybe you just have a big time launch in 6 Midwestern states. That's still okay, but you really want to you really just have to make it seem to the people that this is important to you and that you really have the resources to get something going. So you want to really simulate what a big company launch would be. Try to have a marketing and introduction plan and make sure all your market materials are ready. Now, a lot of times, the market's changed, and all of a sudden now social media, Facebook ads, posting articles, doing Twitter, having YouTube, all of this has become a big factor in successfully putting a product out. Fortunately for you, the freelance sites, if you do freelance sites for social media marketing, you can find a lot of people who know a lot of things about social media marketing and won't charge you very much. I kind of recommend you look at them unless you are really younger and know all about social media marketing. It's sort of a lot of work, and you're not sure of the benefits at first. But really getting that public exposure, getting your name out, getting the chance that people will kind of like your site and exchange information is important. So don't overlook that. Again, as I said, in your product launch, if you're really going nationwide, major events are big. Your big marketing programs. I like to see you do webinars. So now webinars, for stores, and you can have distribution people, and you can really get this out. Watch my webinar at this time. It's with having videos, having demonstrations. It's really pretty effective. So you should consider having a webinar maybe that comes up 2 to 3 times a month or once a week, for a couple months to really start to gather up your supporters. And you can actually video your webinar and then put it, on your website so people can just look at that later on if they want. I use a service called Wistia that will allow me to have, 50 people watching my video at once. You don't want to have your webinar there where only one person at a time can watch it. So there are services where you post your video online, then they make that video so it's, web enabled so that you can get it off the web, and then you can have a lot of people accessing the video at once. It's not a very expensive service, so you might want to do that if you're doing a webinar or video. It's great to have happy users and users, and it's great to put them on your video too in your webinar. So if you have a webinar, you can show videos of the stores you're in. You can show videos of people talking about how much they like the product. You really want to have a lot of support for your rep. So just don't count on your rep to go out there. You should take your bigger reps and you should go on, like a week tour with them where you can go to the stores. You can show these things. It enhances the rep's reputation. Usually they like doing it. Gives you a chance to see what the reps are doing, and it really builds momentum with you to getting going. You might want to also have a pricing special or other to launch the product and have enough product ready to ship. As I mentioned, now we have another video series called Pumping Up Sales, which really goes a lot more into a lot of these details. So be sure to take a look at that video too before you get out there and launch your product.